The scene is set. After having gone through the contacts list and not being able to find the Primogen's number, they did find the contact information from when they hacked the system for. They did manage to find Kalliope's cell phone number. So with that in mind, they call it, and they call it, and after a few rings, there is a pause. The phone picks up, and on the other end, and there is a sorry, I'm trying to find the. I should mention I am reading a text. I'm reading a text conversation that was simulating the phone call in order to address this. So give me a sec to locate the actual. Give me a sec. Hang on. Where are we? Where are we? Yeah, here we go. So yes, there's a dead pause when it comes up before finally a female voice on the other end says, "Yes." Bob says, "Hello, Mistress Kalliope. This is Bob. Joseph School? Michael and I have been talking. We figure the whole issue from last night is mostly our fault, and we wish to offer our lives as recompense for what our benefactor did." There's a pause on the line before Kalliope says, Your lives is not what I want. Your master, in his blind pursuit of his goals, managed to break the traditions, disregard the code of hospitality and domain, and lose control of himself in the Roses Elysium." And there's a forced sigh on the other end of the line. Bob covers the end of the cell phone and says, to Michael, "She's not wanting our lives. We're going to have to come up with something else." We'll figure something out. If we don't do this, he's going to die, and we're not going to be able to know what to do. See, I know, I'll figure this out. After the conversation ends, Bob pulls the cover off the phone again. Of course, this conversation is muffled as far as Kalliope is concerned. He says, "Understood. We do wish to make recompense. We do wish to help make recompense for this, though. As our master is not waking up, we believe it falls to us to right the wrong he did." After a pause, Kalliope says, "You can tell him when he wakes up that he owes me a hefty boon for preserving his life in my good graces. There will come a time that I can use his services. In the meantime, I have your numbers if I need anything." "Understood, and thank you for being so merciful. We are all at your service, all of us. Oh, one more thing. We are sorry to impose, but our master was supposed to introduce himself to the prince. However, owing to his current state, we think he might be in danger of violating another tradition. What is the appropriate course of action for us to take to make sure this doesn't happen?" After a pause, Kalliope says, "You can do one of two things. Speak with Mr. Crowley, and have him handle the matter, or keep your master outside the city borders until he is more appropriately able to speak for himself. Your choice." Bob says, "We will probably do the former. May we have the contact info for Mr. Crowley so that we can arrange a meeting to speak with him and address this. Again, our master would owe you another boon for this, as would we." "You can find him at his bookstore on the northern side of the river. I'll text you the Google map." "Thank you, and we are in your debt." "Indeed, you are. Else you'd be out of master's blood and homeless. Never say that the rose isn't kindly." And with that, the phone disconnects before Bob can speak. Not being able to finish, he quickly texts Kalliope the following: "We do not wish to impose on you any further. All the best, and if you ever have need of us, know that you know how to get a hold of us. Good night, sweet lady. Parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say good night till it be morrow." As he texts it, and of course, he does get a thing back saying that the text was read. So, shrugging his shoulders and having the Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're just dealing with one final aspect of this particular, to make sure that there's a final in character list. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Please bear in mind this scene's going to be a tad longer than I originally anticipated. So while we're at it, you can take a look at that MMA fighter photos, pics and what have you. And yeah, while we're waiting, dum dum da dee dum da dee da dum dum da dee dum da dee dum dum. Okay, well while we're waiting for our other in-character player to message me back, just to confirm that just to confirm that the text has been sent to the characters. Let me tell you guys a funny joke. On a planet of some far distance away in the galaxy, there is a planet inhabited by intelligent flowers. It is led by the king, Richard the Bleeding Heart, but he unfortunately he has a problem. He has the hots for his mistress, Fuchsia, but unfortunately he requires intellectual conversation before pollinating. But unfortunately he can't have it with her because her only interest remains gathering pollen. So he points her out at a court function one day to the professor of the Royal University and says, "Educate her." And educate her they did, and they tried to. They tried to interest her in every subject from astronomy clean through to zoology. Astronomy clean through to zoology. But her only interest remained gathering pollen. In disgust and in defeat, he basically exiled her. He exiled her and the professors to a continent on the far side of the planet. As King Richard the Bleeding Heart lamented to his prime minister one day, "You can lead a horticulture, but you can't make her think." At this point, back in character, Bob gets a little bit of a text with a Google map stating where the bookstore is, and he says to Michael, "Pack up. Take only what you need with us, and including that letter of introduction for the prince, just in case we may need it. We're going to go speak to the Primogen." And with that, oh, never mind. Hang on. No, sorry. I just assumed that she had. We're actually getting her back in character now. So sorry about that. We may have to retcon that last section again. Sorry, just waiting. Bear with. Sorry, the scene's going on a lot longer than I had planned, but I'm kind of in the midst of getting a decision as we speak on a particular aspect of character point to make sure that this scene is actually properly conducted. But yeah, we'll figure it out as we go. So yeah, we're just going to say for this moment that he has the Google map, and if not, then at least he knows from the phone call that it's at the bookstore, that it's at a bookstore on the north side of the river. Find his bookstore on the northern side of the river. So yeah, either way, we're just going to assume that the map has been sent, and that they know how to be able to get a hold of him. This will be continued in a later scene with Jacob Crowley, the Primogen of the Toreador, with Bob, of course, with Bob and Michael, of course, being there and speaking on behalf of Joseph Zwingli, who is currently stuck in torpor in a secret location at the present time. And that's the scene ends.